Hey, what's going on guys? Today I'm going to be showing you how to make your enemies stop bunching up. This can be helpful so you can see how many enemies are in your room without them all going into one. So what you want to do is you want to go into your enemy, go into its create event and set a couple of variables. First off, you want to set something called dir to equal instance nearest x, y, obj player. So now this is just going to check the nearest x and y of obj player, and it's going to set dir to that. You then want to set something called spd, which is short for speed, to let's say 1. That's how fast I want mine to go. You then want to set another variable called col, which is short for collision, and we're going to set it to false for now. We then want to set an alarm, so alarm 0 equals, let's say 20, and then that's all we need to do in the create event, so press tick. You then want to go into this step event, delete this line, and just set dir equal to instance nearest x, y, obj player. That's all you need to do in the step event for now. You then want to create an event, alarm 0. Then drag in some code and you want to type this in. I'll explain it best I can. You want to set, first off, a variable called new dir to equal point direction x, y, dir.x, dir.y. Now, what this does is it sets the variable new direction to point direction, and what point direction is, it's setting our enemy direction to a certain point. So it's setting it to the direction, the x direction of our variable and our y direction of variable, which is just objplayer.x, objplayer.y. You then want to set a variable, an inbuilt variable, speed, to equal speed. So the inbuilt variable basically just sets a speed in whatever direction we're going, so it will go at a certain speed, which is 1 in our case. The only reason we set up a variable was so that it's quite easy to manipulate. You just go into the create event and change the variable spd. That's why we make variables, instead of having to go into the code and find one line of code just to change it. You then want to set an inbuilt variable, direction, to dir. Now direction just implements what our direction is. Again, we've done the variable because it's easier to manipulate. Finally, you just want to set alarm 0 to equal random range, and I'm going to set that to 60 or 120. Now what this does is it checks, or no, it picks a random number in between 60 and 120. So let's say it runs this code, it will pick a random number, let's say 78, because it's in between the two. Now, there's one thing that I did leave out, however. You want to go back to the first line of code and do plus I random range -20 to 20. Now, why we do this is because if we ran all of this, it would just follow our player every so often. So what we're doing is adding this, which is basically just to offset our enemies. Now you can change these to whatever you want. I just like -20 to 20. So this offsets them by an angle of 20. Now if we press play and we run this, it should be all working smoothly, but our enemies will not collide with the walls now. Okay, it's not working. I know why it's not working. Because we've set direction to just instance nearest. Now we don't want this. We want to set it to new dir, so it actually does follow our player. So just go into your alarm and change dir to new dir. Okay, so now it will follow our player and they won't bunch up as much. Now you see they bunch up a tiny bit, but they will correct themselves eventually. Like so. Now, we need to fix one thing, which is they can go through walls. Now if you want them to go through your walls, then just keep the code as it is. If you don't want them to go through walls, however, then follow this. Now, you'll notice that that variable we made earlier, col equals false, is going to now, we haven't used it yet, we're now going to use it. So, you want to go into the step event, and you want to do this. If place meeting x, y, obj wall col equals true. Now, what this is just doing is it's checking if we are meeting at Rx and Ry with the wall. So if Rx and Ry is meeting with the wall, then we're going to set this variable to true. You then want to do an else, so if it's not meeting with the wall, col equals false. One thing that I forgot to do was above col, you need to set this MP potential step object player.x obj player.y, set the speed to 1 or whatever you want, or actually we could just set this to SPD. You then want to check all to true, and that's all we need in the step event. You then want to go back into alarm, and above new direction you want to set if col equals false, then it will do this. But you don't want to include alarm in that, because you want the alarm to run no matter what. So it will keep on cycling through and it will keep on checking if it's colliding. So now if we run this, you'll see that when they collide with the wall, they don't go through it. They kind of bounce off of it. Now they're not the smartest. If you would like me to make smarter enemies, don't forget to suggest it in the comments. This works for our purposes. If I managed to help you, don't forget to leave a like and leave a comment letting me know. I would also like to thank Simon G for suggesting this. Don't forget to leave your suggestions in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to press that bell icon so you get notified every time I upload. And I'll see you in the next tutorial.